We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace. Welcome to the Geekcentric Podcast. My name is Nate, and in this episode, we change things up just a little bit as we catch up and talk about the latest news and trailers, as well as talk about what we've been enjoying in a giant Whatchya as our topic of the show. But first, if you're joining us for the first time, this is a weekly show covering the world of film, television, gaming, toys, and collectibles, and all things geek-centric. Joining me on the show, we have the willfully wild and wacky weed-loving Whatchya Wonder Boy, Justin.
Damn right, I'm a weed-loving Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy.
Yeah, there you go. And not too far on a screen next to him, joining us on his wonderful Western wagon full of waffles, ready to walk us through his Whatchya, we have the waxed, one-eyed wallaby, Kevin Hudson.
I mean, I'm more of a pancake man myself, but
Yeah.
waffles can be good.
Really? Pancakes over waffles?
Yeah, I don't know
I wouldn't
why.
have expected that.
I would
Yeah.
go either way.
I need a crunch on. Anyways, how are you guys doing tonight? You guys doing okay?
Doing well.
Good, man. Good.
Doing well.
Double
I'm feeling a
vaxxed,
little.
ready to re-enter the world.
Yeah. So wait. So when did that happen for you?
That was yesterday for me.
Yesterday. Okay. And then I just got my second dose today, literally hours ago, and I'm feeling a little woozy, a little tipsy. But you're saying it hits you harder the next day.
I was a little bit fatigued today. I found I was a little bit, especially in the afternoon. It just sort of felt like, where's my energy gone? And my arm's a little stiff, but I learned from the first one, so I've been hydrating a lot and lots of arm movement and exercises to keep it going, and it was a lot better. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've got my water, so I'm ready. Justin, you just have to. We got to get you in, buddy. What are we doing?
I get to book on Friday, so.
Amazing.
Right.
Cool. Sweet. Okay. Well, listen. Today's episode is going to be structured a little differently, and that's actually been because it's actually been quite some time since we've sat down for a regular episode like this, and it's for good reason, because we've now been able to work with Disney Plus Canada to provide you, our listeners, reviews for the latest Disney Plus content, sometimes early, but always on time from now on. So we are so excited, and we hope you're excited as well, and we can't wait to talk to you about all the exciting things we have planned for this podcast going forward. Very exciting. I'm very excited. We've got a lot of really cool stuff. Justin, you were even just telling me earlier today about some things that we're going to talk about after the podcast.
Yes.
That we're going to be potentially reviewing in the near future. So I'm very, very stoked for that. But listen, with all that good news, let's head into the news. It's all about the details. All right. First on the news docket, just a little tiny, this isn't really even that much news, but I thought I'd go over it. Disney Plus original series will now release on Wednesdays, not Fridays. This from Joe Porter at The Verge. From July, all of Disney Plus global original series will now be released on Wednesdays rather than Fridays, according to The Hollywood Reporter. The change has reportedly been made to give the service's increasing number of original TV shows more space in the schedule, while the service's original movies will continue to release on Fridays. Disney has announced a number of new premiere dates following the change, with most now releasing a few days later than previously planned. For instance, Monsters, Inc., the spin-off Monsters at Work, will now release on Wednesday, July 7th rather than July 2nd, while Turner and Hooch has shifted from July 16th to July 21st. The first Disney Plus show to have premiered on a Wednesday was Loki, which was reportedly the service's most watched premiere. Wednesdays are now the new Fridays, as quoted Tom Hiddleston, apparently. Now, that's actually in contrast to previous series like WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and The Mandalorian, which released on Fridays, which were actually in competition with Netflix's and Amazon's new releases. The Hollywood Reporter notes that Fridays have historically been seen as the worst times to premiere new shows on linear TV networks. So, guys, what do you think of this change up? Does it make sense? And how does it affect your watching schedule, if at all? Justin?
I don't think it affects my watching schedule. It's nice, though, that they're trying to think of like how to spread these things out, reserve movies for Fridays, TV shows, for Wednesday. And that being said, it is streaming, so it's really, at the end of the day, it's you watch it when you can watch it.
Right.
If you can't watch it right away, you're going to watch it the next day or maybe days after. So it doesn't really change the schedule, but I can see why the strategy might be beneficial to them, or it might.
But I mean, for some of their, I agree with you, Justin. But for some of those like really big series, there's a lot of people that they work during the week, and they aren't able to watch these shows necessarily when they premiere. And I know we've talked a lot about spoiler culture and how that's kind of shifted since streaming has come along. So, with a lot of these shows, it's like you want to be on the ball. You're going to almost have to watch it right as soon as it comes out at 3 in order to watch it on time now. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I totally get where they're coming from, from a strategy standpoint. But I thought you were going to go there and then didn't quite, Nate. I mean, I know for me, some of these shows are almost like, the sort of thing you like to get together with your usual group of people that you might watch, say, the Marvel stuff
Sure.
with. And that's a lot more difficult to sort of arrange on a Wednesday night than it would be on a Friday when maybe make it a bit more of a destination. You hang out a bit after and stuff. So, I mean, that's a very selfish sort of viewpoint I'm taking on that. And I mean, like they said, I believe the movies are still going to be that big Friday night event. So it makes sense for them to spread it out and not just with their own content, but from other distributors. So I totally get where they're coming from here.
Yeah, I think from a business standpoint, it does make a lot of sense. But I mean, we're literally just talking about all of us getting double vax, and it's like we could start, getting the backyard, get this projector screen up, the barbecue going, and it might not happen as often on Wednesday nights. But you know what? I mean, we're geeks. We'll make anything happen.
Exactly.
So we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Speaking of geeks that can make anything happen, some geeks from New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers have been working on something, and I'm pretty stoked about it. So this is a bit of older news that I just had to bring up because Lord of the Rings is something that I think we've talked about quite often on our podcast. So Lord of the Rings animated movie The War of Rohirrim in the works. This is from James White at Empire. While the recent focus of Lord of the Rings' attention has been on the sprawling Amazon TV series that digs into the story's deeper past, which is known to be a big screen to the world of J.R.R. Tolkien's work, has been quietly planned now by New Line Cinema and Warner Bros. A new standalone anime film called The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim is now in development. Anime filmmaker veteran Kenji Kamiyama is on board to direct, working from a script from the Dark Crystal, The Age of Resistance writers Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews. The story will depict the bloody saga behind Helm's Deep, the fortress depicted in the Two Towers, and the man whose honor it is named after, Helm Hammerhand, the legendary king of Rohan, who spent much of his reign locked in a prolonged and costly war. While Peter Jackson isn't working on this one, the aim is for it to connect in some way to his two trilogies, with Philippa Boyens, who worked on both sets of the different movie scripts, present as a consultant. There will, however, be no link to Amazon's effort. But given the mere presence of the show, Warner Animation has this on a fast track with production and voice casting already underway. So I know I'm very stoked about this, and Kevin, I know anime isn't usually your jam, so I wanted to kind of throw it to you. I want to know, what do you think about this new story built from the world of Tolkien?
I mean, we're also encroaching into prequel territory here, so
right, it's like a double. But I mean, double negative.
As somebody who sort of really fell into the whole mythology of Lord of the Rings because of the movies, and then understanding that there's an immense world far beyond those that Tolkien created, and then I went and tried to read some of the earlier books depicting those times, and that was about a chapter or two before I went, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. So any chance I can get to sort of dive deeper into this world that isn't reading what I wouldn't consider the most entertaining writing style, I think is great. But I'm certainly, if I'm looking forward to one of the two projects, it would be the live action one more than the animated one, I think.
Interesting. Justin, I know you and I are big on the animation front. What do you think of this news?
I'm excited for it. I think the most interesting part is that, Lord of the Rings has such a mythology and lore to it that we're all aware of, and we might not have read it, but we know that it's there. And it's just such a missed opportunity not to try to tell some of those stories in other ways. You have things like Game of Thrones that's done such a great job. It's obviously more current. It's not as old as Tolkien's tales, but they've done such a great job with mixed media, with the animation as well side, to kind of round out and tell more of the stories in and around each of the families and the houses, and that helps build that lore that much more. So I think this is great that they're capitalizing on it. I think that it's cool that they're telling like an offshoot story that doesn't directly, but may sort of directly, tied to the original trilogy. An anime. Come on, that's going to be awesome.
I'm just wicked. Stoked. Like, I'm stoked to see it because it's even from what they're saying in the original article here, in terms of being a bloody. They said it was a bloody saga behind Helm's Deep. Yeah. I think Two Towers is a kind of a more underrated of the Lord of the Rings films. I know for some people it's their favorites, but for a lot of people they prefer Return of the King. And I'm just stoked to see kind of where that all started. And I'm just kind of excited to see more Western properties come out in this style, right? We've got the new Star Wars Visions also going to be coming to Disney Plus later this year. And so I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm stoked that we get more and more sort of modern anime with the stuff that we love.
Yeah, and I think that's the evolution of anime, right? It is effectively influenced Western properties now. It's built its own sort of history and its background, and now it's finding its way. I'm really excited to even see something like the Masters of the Universe, the Kevin Smith, right?
Looks
like
fantastic.
On Netflix, like that looks amazing, and that has a very anime-inspired style.
Yeah, very classic, original, very colorful, and definitely from that trailer that they put out for that, very 80s. But yeah, man, I'm stoked for this as well.
Anime, man.
Absolutely, just animated properties in general, and I can't wait for the next Avatar series, and I'm just going to say that any chance I get. But let's move on to the next news story here. Cruella sequel in the works at Disney, according to The Hollywood Reporter and Aaron Couch. As Cruella heads into its second weekend, The Hollywood Reporter has learned that the studio behind the Emma Stone starer is in development on a sequel. Cruella director Craig Gillespie and screenwriter Tony McNamara are expected to return. Cruella debuted May 28th simultaneously in theaters and on Disney Plus under the streaming service's Premier Access tier, and the film has earned $48.5 million globally. It received positive reviews and has been praised for its 1970s punk rock aesthetic, and currently sits at 97% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Disney has found success mining its library of beloved animated features for live-action remakes and spin-offs, and the studio isn't done yet. It also has live-action reimaginings of Pinocchio, Peter Pan and Wendy, and The Little Mermaid in the works. So I've made my thoughts very clear that I did not want a sequel to this movie during our review. But what do you guys think we should expect from the sequel? Justin?
I agree. I don't want a sequel, but they're going to do it because
money.
It's money, right? And if the movie did well, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just hope that the way this was approached or handled was, okay, we could do a sequel. Let's go back to the director and writer and see if they actually have something that they could do as a sequel before we actually, say something. And they may have said, you know what? We actually do have a story we could tell as a part two to this Cruella. If that's how it's handled, then, and the director and the writer have good choices and ambition to like tell a story, then I'll be behind it. I'll definitely check it out. But if this is just for the purpose of trying to milk this for more, then it's no. It's just done,
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with both of you. Didn't want it, don't think it's necessary. But if you're going to do it, I hope it's because there's a story worth telling and they're not forcing a story just for the sake of some theatrical release money. And I hope that if they are going this way, that maybe this is like a middle story that we get between the prequel that we just got and sort of where the character winds up in the older stories of Cruella de Vil in the 101 Dalmatians that we're familiar with. Hopefully, maybe it'll fill in some of those questions that we were left asking at the end of the movie that was supposed to sort of set all those up. So
yeah.
I kind of feel like, to your point, Kevin, like I hope if it is a good story, that it is something that does sort of respond to, like, we definitely had some of our criticisms in our review around that, just in terms of how it did feel very disconnected from the original animated film. So yeah, it would be really cool. But like, I don't know, Justin, like the directors and writers of, Alice Through the Looking Glass and Maleficent Mistress of Evil also thought they had good stories to tell and there was money to be made there, and those did not pan out at all.
Yeah, I feel like there has been conversations. Like when we were doing the review, I had mentioned that Emma Thompson and Emma Stone were discussing if they did a sequel, or if there was the opportunity to do a sequel, for it to be very Godfather 2-esque. And I think that's interesting, especially approaching it from the same sort of mentality, but it's two females. So yeah, I think that's interesting to see. If they do
so we'll call
like
it
that.
Godmother.
Godmother, there you go.
I can't wait for Godmother coming to Disney Plus. Cool. All right. Well, speaking of streaming services and some odd decisions, Steven Spielberg's Amblin partners in deal to make movies for Netflix. This broke over at Deadline, where Mike Fleming Jr. Writes up a wonderful article that I recommend everyone go and click on and read through the whole thing. I'm going to read as little of it as I possibly can while still giving as much information as I can. So strap in here. What a difference 2 years and a global pandemic make. Steven Spielberg, who a couple years ago was quoted drawing a clear line between theatrically released films and streamer films, has birthed his Amblin partners into a partnership with Netflix that will cover multiple new feature films per year. The Netflix deal will coexist side by side with the one Spielberg and Amblin have at Universal Pictures. Neither will have first shot at Amblin properties. Spielberg will make some films for Universal, and others will be made for Netflix. The expectation is that Amblin will generate multiple films per year for Netflix, which has a voracious appetite for content and releases a new film per week. Amblin's Universal deal was extended last December, at which time comments reflected the possibility that a streaming deal might be in the offing. Said Amblin Partners chairman Spielberg on Monday in a quote, "At Amblin, storytelling will forever be the center of everything we do. And from the minute Ted and I started discussing a partnership, it was abundantly clear that we had an amazing opportunity to tell new stories together and reach audiences in new ways. This new avenue for our films, alongside the stories we continue to tell with our longtime family at Universal and our other partners, will be incredibly fulfilling for me personally, since we get to embark on it together with Ted. And I can't wait to get started with him, Scott, and the entire Netflix team." Stuber, Netflix's head of global films, said in another quote, "We look forward to working with Steven, Jeff, and the entire Amblin family on a new slate of films that will delight generations, and get this, for years to come." So guys, this is pretty big news, especially for Netflix. What do you guys think of this sort of somewhat crazy change in opinion from Mr. Spielberg? And do you think he'll be more successful in this deal than Adam Sandler was?
I mean, producers generally do tend to take, a bigger cut of movies than actors do in a lot of instances. So,
yeah,
I mean, and any chance, I think like a Netflix release is almost safer for a movie you don't think is going to bring in $400 million at the box office.
Right.
But I mean, that said, I don't think, any of Spielberg's movies that Amblin releases are going to be the ones that go to theater. Right. And just looking at the movies that they've released over the last few years, I'm not seeing the type of movie I can see going to a Netflix. Your Jurassic World franchise and your Indiana Jones is coming up. That's, one that they've got on the slate coming out. So I'm not sure. I guess they're going to just start developing more movies to sort of fill out that void. So,
yeah, it's just crazy how the tables have turned, though. Like, now that Netflix has reached $25 billion, in annual revenue, I just, it's just, I wonder if the only thing I wonder though is like, would he consider the movies that his own Amblin Studios puts out on Netflix to be worthy of Academy Awards? I don't know. I just feel like it's such a interesting turnaround from what he was saying, back a couple Academy Awards ago.
Yeah, and I think he's just going where the money is, right? Like he's a filmmaker and he wants to tell stories and he wants his profitability of his studio to succeed, right? Because then he will succeed, right? Like I'm not saying that's the entire motive, but I think that, you can have an opinion and then suddenly learn new factors and have that opinion changed. The reality is that I think he's starting to see that there's no stopping them, right? They are their own sort of content. Whether he has the opinion if they should be worthy of Academy Awards, I don't think that's up to him, right? And,
but I mean,
he's part of the Academy, but
yeah. I mean, it is a question to all of a sudden, you're at one point saying a movie going to a streaming service shouldn't be worthy of an Academy Award nomination, but then what does he say when what is he just a superior artist and he can make that transition work? You know. And with Scorsese, it works with, I think Netflix was the perfect way to distribute a 4-hour movie, was to do it over a streaming service, right? Like how many people would have seen that movie? What was it called?
Irishman. Yeah, I would have seen it in theaters. I probably think I would have enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed it more in theaters than I did in the streaming because of the actual experience of like I'm sure
maybe
he would
if there was
do
an
intermission and you know what I mean. Like I do think though that for the filmmakers that do make those comments, I think it comes from the idea of having your movie screened in a theater. That's the validation for them that they get. For me and for us, as we discuss this, what we think is celebrating what made those movies. That's what the Academy Awards is about. It's not about the movies that were screened in theaters, right? It's no longer about that, right?
Right.
So, the theater system and being part of the theater distribution and how movies are experienced, that's to them the gold standard of what the Academy Award should be stood for. But that's just not it. You got to adapt, you got to change. And maybe this is the first sign that Steven Spielberg is adapting and changing to the times.
And, a follow-up question here, guys, like not necessarily, based on, where films are going to come from, whether through Amblin or directly through him, or I just want to know what kind of Spielberg movies would you want to see on a Netflix? Would you really want to enjoy, obviously not a 4-hour movie, but like what kind of, do you think we're going to get a Jaws? Are we getting a sequel to E.T.? Do you think he'll let any of those properties on Netflix?
I mean, I can see some of his work, like let's say, The Post or Bridge of Spies. Right. That type of movie would work on a Netflix. But I think Spielberg's a little bit more known for the big blockbuster style movies that he does as well. And recently, even something like the BFG had to be a theater movie. That was meant to be, Ready Player One. Those are theatrical releases.
Yeah. I also think though, like to your point, Kevin, if they're looking at it as a strategy of what movies they put out that are theater experiences and what movies might not pull in a huge amount of money in a theater release but would do really well in a streaming platform, that's how Amblim's changing their thinking process. They're saying not everything needs to go straight to theaters because we're not going to maybe necessarily yield any earnings off of that, right? Where we know these big theatrical experienced movies, they will do that. So, I think they're just adapting to this platform. The kinds of movies that I would like to see are more of the space adventure sort of style. Like I do like those stories that Amblin tends to do. So like the E.T. or the Super 8 or, very, very much that sort of nostalgic Goonies. Those sort of adventure stories I think would do really well on Netflix. And look at Stranger Things. It's basically an Amblin sort of, but way darker.
Pretty
and
much is. Yeah. You're not wrong. Yeah. So maybe it'll encourage him to look at potentially even a series, because he's already got that series on Apple TV Plus, Amazing Stories. So it would be interesting to see if he also brings some shows onto Netflix. But guys, that is it for the news. Nice tight news segments there. Not too bad.
We got pretty long on the tooth on that last one.
Maybe that last one, but that's an important. That's a big deal for Netflix. But guys, let's move into trailer time.
It's trailer time.
All right, so we got just a little trio of trailers to talk about this evening. We're going to start with one that came out relatively recently, starting with The Shrink Next Door. This is directed by Michael Showalter, who also directed The Big Sick and Lovebirds. It's starring Will Ferrell, Paul Rudd, Kathryn Hahn, and Casey Wilson. And it's inspired by true events. The Shrink Next Door is described as a dark comedy following the bizarre relationship between psychiatrist to the stars, Dr. Isaac Ike Herbschkopf, and his longtime patient, Marty Markowitz. Those are some names. This series lands on Apple TV Plus on November 12th, 2021. I want to know, guys, what did you think of this very interesting looking trailer with Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd?
Yo, I'm tickled pink, man. This thing looks great. It looks definitely different for both of them, while still feeling somewhat familiar. And Paul Rudd, he looks like he's devilishly mischievous, right? Like, it's kind of interesting to see Paul Rudd as like the bad guy.
Yes, and I think he's having so much fun with it. You can tell he's having a ton of fun with it.
I'm intrigued. Kevin, I'm glad I don't know much about it though.
Yeah. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it starts off and it's got just such this positive vibe, and the music, and you're seeing Paul Rudd in a familiar looking character, and Will Ferrell. There's a great moment where he's sort of making a breakthrough in his character, and it just seems like classic, old school, 100% Will Ferrell. And then the trailer kind of takes a huge turn. So I think the three main leads there, they're all so terrific, and anytime you can see them in a movie, let alone one where they're going to sort of be playing something a little different, especially when it comes to Paul Rudd. I think that's just always an exciting thing to see.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that you pointed out too how the trailer really kind of sets up as like a traditional Will Ferrell, Paul Rudd style comedy, and then right in the halfway point, sort of in the middle of this trailer, when the music starts to shift and things start to look darker, the cuts become harder, it starts to really tell like, oh, this isn't their usual comedy sort of thing, right? They're Judd Apatow-y sort of, brotherly sort of comedy. So this is going to be different.
And I love seeing Will Ferrell. It's so different than Anchorman, right? Because Will Ferrell is very much, obviously he's the leading man in Anchorman, and Paul Rudd isn't, but it feels very flip-flopped, you know what I mean? We've got Will Ferrell in this very submissive role, and like so much so that you see the first moment where he's sitting down in the office, and there's just a tree there, like with some branches that are like touching his face, and he tries to move away from them, but he doesn't quite have enough like strength or energy just to like move to the other chair. Like, I'm just so stoked to see his character change, and I'm stoked that this is a series as well and not just a movie or a show. And I don't know how many episodes there's going to be, but anytime you can get Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell, not necessarily in a comedy but like in a dramedy, I just can't wait for it. I can't wait to see them acting together in something other than Anchorman, and to see them play off each other. It looks like it's going to be a lot of sort of dark fun. So that's really cool. Speaking of maybe some dark fun and also some characters that could really use some time with a psychiatrist, the third trailer for James Gunn's The Suicide Squad was released. Of course, this is directed by James Gunn. Get ready for this. Starring Margot Robbie, Joel Kinnaman, Idris Elba, John Cena, Michael Rooker, Viola Davis, Pete Davidson, Nathan Fillion, Jai Courtney, Michaela Hoover, Alice Braga, David Dastmalchian, Taika Waititi, Flula Borg, Sean Gunn, and of course, Sylvester Stallone as King Shark. This is, of course, going to be a story about supervillains, Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and a collection of nutty cons at Belle Reve Prison who join together to form a secret, shady task force known as Task Force X. And they're dropped off at a remote enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese. Although I do think that is probably going to be maybe the first half of this movie. This trailer gave us a lot more from the movie, and definitely even a little bit more of a dramatic tone than we're used to, at least for the beginning portion of the trailer. Kevin, what did you think of this third trailer of this really cool looking movie?
I mean, I didn't want to watch it, and I honestly probably wouldn't have watched it if it wasn't for doing this to give my thoughts on it, just because it does feel like we're seeing an awful lot of the movie by this third trailer now, especially because they've been different, and so they're not just rehashing the same clips in a different order. They're giving this was almost an entirely new set of clips with very little to almost no repeated clips from that second one, which was
all new,
I mean, it shows, and it even if this was the first trailer I saw, and this is all I had to go on, I'd want to see this movie. So
Totally.
I think it speaks volumes to maybe there really is just a full awesome movie waiting to be seen, but I don't want to see any more of it. Please.
Yeah,
No
we
more.
won't watch trailer 4. We won't watch trailer 4. There will be no reaction
I
to
just
trailer
hope we
4.
haven't seen all the good one-liners and gag bits. I just hope
For sure.
there's more there.
This is what Warner does. They do the preliminary teaser that really gets people hyped, and then as it gets closer to like release, there's like that additional trailer that has like more of the story, more of like what you're gonna see, gives away way too much information. I think regardless though, James Gunn's behind it. He's super excited about it. It's going to be a great movie. I don't think we've seen all the action pieces and how things are necessarily set up. But to your point, I think the personal touch, like the humor, sort of back and forth nature, we've seen a lot of that based on how much we've seen. What are you leaving really for the movie, right? So hopefully it's pretty outstanding.
Well, yeah, I mean, like they did another shot from, the theater or auditorium where they're all sort of sitting there getting the big briefing. And we saw 2 new one-liners from that scene that we'd already seen 2 jokes from. And it's like, are you leaving anything for the movie?
But you also have to wonder, like, James Gunn's pretty smart with how he maybe releases some of these trailers. It's very possible we're getting one-liners that maybe we won't even get in the movie, right? And that's maybe how they can keep
Marvel
things fresh.
tactic, yeah.
Right? Very Marvel. I mean, he's a Marvel
takes
director. And
okay.
yeah, and like speaking of him being a Marvel director, like so the trailer starts off with a much more dramatic tone, right? That then we've gotten with the other 2 trailers, and so seeing it focus on Bloodsport and Amanda Waller, it gives me so much hope that this isn't just going to be silly jokes and fun. At least we get that in the that's the majority of the trailer, but at the beginning, it feels like we're finally getting like a confident DC movie. And it's just funny that we had to wait for an MCU director to come in to make it. But I'm so amped. And technically, it does tie into the DCEU at large. But it's not the same Superman. Because you hear that line where she's like, shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet. Apparently, Bloodsport is in prison for putting Superman into the ICU with a kryptonite bullet. But according to James Gunn in an IGN trailer breakdown, it's not the same Superman. It's not Henry Cavill's Superman. And he says I don't know who it's going to be because other people other than me decide that. So
but what he is confirming though is that his story ties into whatever they're going to do next. That's pretty cool.
I mean, with multiverses, you can say whatever the heck you want at this point, right? So, but I also just wanted to shout out like a couple moments in the trailer, like Harley's new jacket. I don't know if you caught it, but there's like a brief flash and you see what's on her back of her jacket. It says "Live Fast, Die Clown." And I just think that's so funny with Fast 9 coming up very soon, how they're sort of, paying clear homage to that. I love the moment with Pete Davidson sitting in the and he's like, "Is this a dog? Is this guy a dog?" It's like very clearly not a dog. But I don't know, man. I just think the fact that the trailer can start with that dramatic scene with Idris Elba and Viola Davis, these actors that are just like incredible, and then end with a butthole joke and a poop joke, and I'm still amped for it. I mean, that says quite a bit about the writing for this movie. So I don't know, man. I'm so stoked. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about for this?
I'm hoping we get to see it in theaters.
Yes. Oh,
August 24th
we're seeing it in theaters.
we should be in the clear at that point. So that'd be great.
100%.
That would be a good first movie to see in theaters. That's for sure.
No more trailers. But
please.
One more trailer for us. But that's not Suicide Squad. The last trailer we're going to talk about is Only Murders in the Building. Kevin, you had kind of brought this up to our attention. This is from series creators John Hoffman and Steve Martin, starring Selena Gomez, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. And it's a story about 3 strangers who share an obsession with true crime, who suddenly find themselves caught up in a true crime drama. This is going to have its series premiere on Hulu on my birthday. It's actually coming out. It's happening on August 31st on my birthday. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a watch party for this series for my birthday, I guess. But very interesting. What do you guys think about this this latest or this first look at Only Murders in the Building? Kevin.
So this was on one of my anticipated for this year when we did that episode back at the beginning of the year, just because it just from the description, it reminded me of a great early to mid 90s Woody Allen movie called Manhattan Murder Mystery, where these two very fish out of water in terms, these two older people think that their neighbor has murdered his wife, and they become, private eyes or sleuths trying to crack the case. And I think that's very much what this is like. And seeing it now, it definitely gave me similar vibes to that. I don't think Steve Martin or Martin Short have been particularly funny in the last 10 years, but I also don't know if they've had anything to work with. Right. And so it's exciting to think that these two, comedy legends might have, a solid piece of writing and direction and everything to work with here. And maybe they'll have a lot of fun with the work.
And from the trailer, I mean, I'm not getting total comedy vibes from it either. Very much like The Shrink. What is it? What was the one we were just talking about? The Shrink Next Door.
Yeah.
Very much like The Shrink Next Door. I got dramedy vibes. I got very much. There's going to be a couple of funny moments, but I think it's obviously it's giving me Mad Knives Out vibes. It's obviously a whodunit, right? And I'm excited to see Martin Short and Steve Martin act together again. Honestly, I can't think of another movie that I have seen them act together in other than The Three Amigos. So I'm very intrigued.
You'd have Father of the Bride, yeah.
Oh, listen, that I've seen, you guys, that I've seen. Remember, I don't watch movies, apparently. But seeing Selena Gomez, I think that's just the right amount of odd casting that a project like this needs. And so I'm personally really excited to check this out. Justin, how about yourself?
Yeah, like I said, I've said countless times, I'm a huge fan of Father of the Bride 1 and 2. I love Steve Martin. I love Martin Short. I think this is such a interesting project to kind of do, and so relevant in terms of fascination around true crime dramas and podcasts that are true crime oriented. So, I do agree though, like Kevin, the one thing that was interesting is that they didn't come off very funny in this trailer, but I think to Nate's point, I think this is going to be like lighter on the humor, more on the dramedy side, right? It's just a total misdirect in this trailer. But
I mean, I really hope it doesn't take itself too seriously. This doesn't seem like a premise that I'd want that from. You have to have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, and especially when you're Martin Short and you're Steve Martin, who are known for comedy, and you're attaching your name, what people are coming to check out. If you don't give them any sort of funny, then they're going to be like, well, what the hell was this? You know what I mean? So, but it needless to say, the casting choices are very interesting. To have Selena Gomez with the two of them, it'll be interesting to see how she kind of, acts with them and plays the part.
I'm just wondering how we're going to be able to watch this, considering it's coming out on Hulu. I'm guessing we'll get it with Star. Too. Yeah, so we'll get it through Star on Disney Plus, and instead of getting all the episodes dropped at once, we'll have to wait 2 months to watch the whole thing, as Star has been known to do.
Yeah. I honestly, that's the big thing too. Is maybe we won't watch it on my. Wait, this one doesn't come out on my birthday, does it? Oh, this is the one that does come out on my birthday.
But one episode will, but not all 8.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll have to figure it out. But guys, that is it for trailers. Let's get into our topic of the show. It's time for the topic of the show. So as I said at the top of the show, it's been a while since we've sat down and discussed our thoughts on what we've been watching or playing lately. So before we kind of get into our traditional Whatchyas, where we're going to kind of do a round table and give a little bit in terms of what we've been watching or playing. Something that we've all watched that we really didn't get a chance to talk about, and I just wanted to kind of go over that first, was, listen, I'll be there for you. And they were certainly there for us when we all watched right? Get a little bit of... Yeah. When we all watched the Friends reunion special. So I thought we'd take just a brief moment just to talk about that. I want to know, whoever wants to jump in first here, what did you think of the Friends reunion?
I personally loved it. I mean, I've seen some feedback where people weren't happy with certain things like, celebrities that had nothing to do with the show being involved. Sure. If you either like James Corden or you hate James Corden more than you hate any entertainer on the planet. For me, I don't mind him. So I thought he was a great host. He had the kind of enthusiasm that us as fans had watching these guys on screen together for the first time in almost 2 decades. And so, I thought the pacing of it was really nice. They took it nice and slow, and you could really feel how happy they were to all see each other back on the old set. And then it, broke down into a little bit more fun and reminiscing. And then obviously, the big spectacle of the live audience for the sort of latter half of the show. I don't know. I got goosebumps, Friends is still a show that if I, fallen asleep and it's on Comedy Central, I'll throw it on and watch an episode or two. And, it's just always there. I've seen the episodes 10 times. It's an integral part of my life in that regard. And so to see this, I thought they did a really great job with it.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be exactly like the Fresh Prince reunion special, but I'm really glad it wasn't actually. Like the trivia that they did was so good because that very much felt like I was like, because I think a lot of people were hoping that this was going to be also an episode of Friends and that they were going to like be the characters. And so to see them do that trivia felt very much like they were their characters. David Schwimmer was Ross in those moments.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was such a fantastic moment. I really liked that a lot.
Yeah, I think that the best part about this reunion show was that it was more of a variety show. It had the behind the scenes sort of retrospective look. It had the sit downs in front of the live studio audience. But yeah, I like that it was just a variety show and it had the best of everything. And the sort of trivia moment was to your point, Nate, sort of reliving the characters, if you will, in a sort of situation that many fans will know them from.
Right.
Well, you're absolutely right, Nate, in that I do think a lot of people were sort of hoping that they might come back and do an 8-episode sort of catch up on where these characters have been. But I think the actors themselves, as well as the creators and everyone responsible, said it perfectly well. I mean, we left these characters all in a great spot. So something bad would have almost had to happen to them in order to necessitate seeing them back together,
right.
And so I do think that they were wise in almost leaving these characters where they were. I'm really not sure some of these actors could play those characters again. Why did Monica all of a sudden go get $2 million worth of cosmetic surgery? I don't know if Matthew Perry can bring the same sort of Chandler energy that he had. The only one that works is Joey. He's just been eating a lot, and it works perfectly. It finally caught up to him.
I thought Fat Joey was. It took me a little while. It took me a little while to get used to, but then afterwards, I was like, no, that makes perfect sense. And seeing Carl, who plays the fake Joey. And learning that I had no idea that he was almost cast as Joey. He was the runner-up, which is so cool. But, I also want to just quickly shout out, because you're mentioning these actors playing these characters again. Ross and Rachel's first kiss table read was incredible. And, at least for them, I'm like, I could totally see them stepping right back into those characters because they absolutely did, and the same thing with Phoebe. Even
Lisa
seeing
Kudrow
Phoebe
did great getting into that energy.
I think she did the best, other than Ross. I actually the table reads. I thought were a little odd. I thought that was the odd part of the thing, but I enjoyed that they're trying to relive those moments. Of all the moments, though, I wouldn't have relived that one. You know what I mean? There's some great comedy dialogue between them that they could have relived rather than the first kiss. To me, that's more about the experience of that moment as an episode rather than watching the table read of it, right? So
I don't know, man. I still got chills from it.
What'd you guys think of the reveal that David Schwimmer and Jennifer Aniston had a thing on set?
That's interesting.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, right? How could you not? You know what I mean? At least with Jennifer Aniston, she's just so.
And then I forget. I think it was Courtney Cox who said it's probably best that you never explored that. Look at two actors like Johnny Galecki and Kaylee Cuoco from Big Bang Theory, who met on the show, had a several years long romance, and then broke up and had to work together for 5 or 6 years in a very intimate role, while also probably not being the biggest fans of each other. I'm sure that could be an awkward place for not just you, but your coworkers. And so, it was the what if that sort of makes it special, but also didn't potentially ruin the dynamic that they had making that show.
Yeah. So if any actors are listening, you almost want to time your relationships near the end of a series, so that if it doesn't work out, then hey, you know what? The show's ending. You can just get the heck out of there. But yeah, anything else you guys want to shout out about the reunion before we move on?
No, I think that's it. I think it was well done, Friends
cool.
reunion.
I can't wait for the Office reunion.
Yes.
However many years that is away from us, so that's going to be fantastic. But guys, without further ado, I ask you, gentlemen, whatcha? Kevin, we're gonna start with you. If you want to go ahead and give us some honorable mentions really quick, and then give us one of your whatchas for our topic of the show.
Yeah, because as you mentioned at the top of the segment, it's been such a long time. I actually had to think back at shows that I started and finished, since
all in the same time.
One show that's just started itself about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, it's on Disney Plus, is MODOK. So I've been enjoying it, not as much as I thought I would, but it is what it is. I'll watch a little Patton Oswalt anytime. So that's, another show. I've always wanted to watch it. I like my family Wednesday night style sitcoms, but this one, it doesn't stream anywhere. So I've been watching it or recording it every morning at 9:30 a.m. on Comedy Central, fresh off the boat. It's a great comedy. The writing's actually pretty good for the style of sitcom that it is.
Cool.
Another one
Sweet.
I watched, or at least we got caught up on, so now we're watching it weekly on Sunday evenings. It's called Black Monday. So it's set in the 80s. It's about the stock market and a stock market crash. So it stars Don Cheadle, Andrew Reynolds, Paul Scheer, and Regina Hall. It's good. It's very dark, vulgar humor, which I very much appreciate. And then finally, one more show that I checked out recently is a very short little 8 episode in a movie series called Hello Ladies, starring the wonderful Stephen Merchant. This is that sort of Office-style, awkward situation humor. He was the king of writing it back in the day with Ricky, and now he's the starring role in it, and it's a lot of fun too. Very awkward, though. Very awkward.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, so sorry to go on there, but again, it's been so long. I won't spend too much time on this first one that I want to talk a bit longer about, just because Justin's mentioned these himself, in passing. But I finally had a chance to sit down and watch all of the A&E documentaries on WWE superstars of the past, and so what a terrific! I hope they continue beyond the 8 episodes they've done so far, because just a fantastic.
The one I haven't watched yet is Mankind.
Oh, Mick Foley! The Mick Foley one is maybe the best one.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
It's great. Yeah. His stories. Just to find out these. I've read his autobiography, so I knew most of his story. But to see clips associated with these stories that I'd heard and everything, and just the fact that WWE went out and bought every wrestling promotion that's ever existed, essentially, just lets anybody who works with them, either if they're doing it themselves or somebody's working in collaboration, it gives them access to literally everything that's ever happened in a wrestling ring. And so they're able to visually show such compelling stories because of all that content that they have. And so, and as great as the Stone Cold one was, and, the Ultimate Warrior, some of your bigger names, it was, I found the Booker T story to be really, really compelling and interesting.
Right.
And I was never a huge fan of him in the ring. I thought he was a bit of a hokey, cartoony character. But the man himself it's just so great to see these people outside of their characters talking about their passion for it. And you can see why they were the most successful at what they did because of that passion.
That's good. I'm glad that you watched all of them.
Yeah, I had to.
Savages was okay. Like Macho Man was pretty good.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad when they're not around to sort of tell the stories themselves. But again, they have so much archival footage that it almost does feel like they can pull enough old interviews and stuff to tell these stories that, you are getting their perspective as well as everybody else's. And it's a pretty good balance that they do in that regard. And this is a bit of a lighter look at it. And so what I'm watching next will be season 3 of Dark Side of the Ring, which is a far more tragic, and that'll be less entertaining, but no less informative and educational, I'm sure.
Right.
The dark side.
Well, funny that you mentioned wrestling as your Whatchya, because actually my honorable mention, which is just one, not nine, is actually the WWE's Most Wanted Treasures. So these episodes have been structured like half-hour, 40-minute episodes that are very focused. Some of them have been really interesting. Others have been whatever. I wasn't as connected to those wrestlers, but still some cool collectible tracking that went into it. But the last two episodes have been featurettes, about an hour and 20 minutes. First episode was on Andre the Giant, which was absolutely like amazing. And to your point, Kevin, the archival footage, like they actually stipulated like footage and photos seen in this episode have never been seen before. So they acquired some very unique sort of stuff and just a really cool retrospective look at Andre the Giant's career. So it was pretty cool. It was a really cool sort of thing. And the last episode I just watched recently was about Ric Flair and getting some of his robes and the infamous black butterfly.
I haven't seen those last two.
Yeah, the black butterfly robe that they tracked down. So I don't know. This show's wicked from the retrospective of it being a behind the scenes of the WWE and wrestling, but also just as a collector, like, just looking for those collections and like how tough it is to like find them and tracking them down. Like, it's got a cool premise and concept to it that they're executing really, really well.
Yeah, it's really neat, and I definitely agree that certain artifacts are a little bit more interesting based on whether you actually watched wrestling at the time. A little bit more interesting than one of the many bags Jake the Snake would have used to carry around a snake.
The Jake the Snake one was like, okay, yeah. I'm like, all right. But then what's cool now is like the robes that they showed, like they're like $50,000-$60,000 like value. Like Ric Flair's robes are super pricey. The story behind where this butterfly black robe is, it's ridiculous, like where they find it.
I'm looking forward to that
it's
one.
Cool. You'll enjoy it. So that's my honorable mention. But the first thing that I want to talk about for Whatchya, and I'm calling this like the 5 out of 5 trio that I got going on here. So all of these I'm giving 5 out of 5 right off the top. And the first thing is the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. This show was so good. It brought back all the nostalgia. You didn't like it?
I'll let you finish.
Why?
Well, okay. Somebody who like literally, grew up with these movies, and not just I watched them a couple times. Like I probably broke my D2 VHS cassette. I watched that movie so many times. But looking back, because we did a rewatch of the 3 movies, before watching the show, they aren't very good movies outside of elements of the first one.
Yeah.
The show is very kid-friendly. So
it's
from
perfect.
A nostalgic purpose, it was great. In terms of good television, it was a 2.2 in terms of writing and
But I'm also thinking of it as something as like Cobra Kai-esque, right? It's the nostalgia.
Cobra Kai is Golden Globe, Emmy Award worthy compared to Game Changers.
Has it won it?
No, but it would if that was its.
I just feel like some people could say the same thing about something like Cobra Kai, like you're saying about the Game Changers. That's it, really. And both are doing one thing that I think they do really well is they know what they are, and it is about bringing the nostalgia. So that's kind of where the applaud kind of comes in and for what they've done. I know it's totally kiddish and very childish, but it's well casted. Each of the kids represents a kind of kid that we would see today, shaped by current times. You have Lauren Graham, who's trying to be the independent mom, who's very protective of her child, but still wants to see their kids succeed and have fun. Bringing in Emilio Estevez, like I don't know, like he was outstanding in this show. He was funny. He still had the Bombay charm, and they gave him a really interesting sort of, albeit they didn't flush it out too much, but like an interesting tension with his sort of disdain to not want to necessarily be the coach that everyone, meaning the viewers, know who he can be, and lead this team. I really enjoyed this show. It was a great job as a reboot. It continued the legacy of the Mighty Ducks while still telling new stories. And I think this is a message to have fun. And I think there's just a real nice sort of idea of connectivity in it. So I don't know. I give it 5 out of 5 quacks, bro. Like this thing was dope. I loved it.
5 out of 5
I bought
quacks.
the jersey. I bought the old school like 1990s Mighty Ducks jersey after I watched this episode. So I loved it. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see you wearing that.
So you're definitely down for a season 2, eh?
100%. I hope they do it, and I hope they can tell some more stories.
Well, and it'd be great if they, without the COVID restrictions, if they're able to bring back more of those, classic characters, and I would gravitate to it a bit more.
For sure.
Very cool. Okay. I'll jump in with some honorable mentions. I have 48 honorable mentions I'm going to go through. No, I'm just kidding. I've always got a game that I'm playing on, my main consoles, and then I've got a game on the go when I'm at work. And so I'll just quickly shout out the at work game. I've been playing a lot of Ollie Ollie on Switch. I don't know if you guys know about Ollie Ollie. It's a side-scrolling skateboarding game, and it's very, very, very difficult. And 1 and 2 are currently on sale as a collection right now, because there's a new one coming out called Ollie Ollie World, that looks awesome. Justin, I think you'd really enjoy the look of the game. It looks like a cel-shaded like cartoon come to life, almost if you took like Adventure Time and then turned it into a skateboarding game. It looks really cool. So I'm really, really stoked for that game coming up, but I've been playing a lot of Ollie Ollie. I've been watching MODOK. Yeah, it's aight. I'm continuing to play Resident Evil. Terrified. Kevin, you'll never play it. I promise you. It is awful and horrific, but I'm getting through because of all the wonderful people in my chat. Of course, I'm continuing to watch Loki and Star Wars The Bad Batch, which we have watch clubs out for right now, so make sure you go listen to those if you haven't already. And of course, we all watched Luca, and so we have our review, both our spoiler-free and our spoiler-filled version of that out there right now. I got back into playing some Pokemon Pinball on Game Boy Color. Did you guys ever play the Pokemon Pinball? Kevin, I know you're a Pokemon guy.
I'm not a pinball guy, though, so...
Not a pinball guy!
Especially not video game pinball. That just, like...
It's the best!
If I could drop in a few quarters and play on an actual machine, I think there's just something that gets lost in that translation for me.
But you're still catching Pokemon in this one. The pinball is the Pokeball, right?
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Justin, you ever play Pokemon Pinball?
I have played it on... It's Game Boy Color, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it for a Game Boy Color. I played it a few times. It was good. It was good. I enjoy the digital pinball games. I definitely there's a nostalgia, obviously, the old vibe of playing an actual pinball machine. But yeah, the digital one with catching the Pokemon, it was interesting.
But it's funny that you said vibe, because the game, actually, you put a battery inside the cartridge. It's got a little vibration thing in it. So it feels like you're... Anyways, I also finished watching with my dad Shadow and Bone. It's not great. Don't watch it. It's not that good. It's on Netflix. It's that one I was talking about in a previous episode, where it's just very tween novel, and yeah, it was very intriguing at the beginning, but it doesn't work in the end. So for my first Whatchya, my actual Whatchya, I watched the season 5 premiere of Rick and Morty, and I really enjoyed it. I think they made a really smart decision. I won't spoil anything, but they made a really smart decision to focus on Morty in the first episode, and it felt... It's crazy that we're 5 seasons into this series, and we can say things like, it feels like classic Rick and Morty. Like, it's kind of cool that we're like now at a place where it feels like season 2, and that's a really, really, really good thing. I'm also stoked that they're seemingly recognizing Jessica as a main character now, kinda, which I won't get into any further on that one, but the way they play with time in this episode, and the way they write is just, it's next level. Like, the world that they create in this first episode that Morty visits, it's only going to be in this first episode, but it could have an entire series all to itself. Like, that's how deep and like sort of sci-fi tropey the dialogue is. And guys, the villain is great. Played by Dan Harmon. He moves in a very specific way that is going to make you very uncomfortable. So try not to watch like too close to the screen, because it's very you just a lot of pelvic motion. So definitely check that out. But Kevin, I mean, did you you and I were kind of the only ones stoked for this. I don't think Justin's watched it.
And I had a chance to watch something just before we sat down to record this and completely forgot that it was in my DVR waiting for me. I watched the wrong half an hour show because I would have loved to talk about it with you. But you've got me more excited than I was, more excited. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and if you don't have like access to, like, I foolishly bought this on iTunes because I bought the whole season, but it's on YouTube. The first episode is all on YouTube for free to watch, which is super cool of Adult Swim to do that. So yeah, very neat. Kevin, let's hear from your next one, my friend.
Well, it's interesting that you say that this newest episode of Rick and Morty feels like classic Rick and Morty, even though they're only at 5 seasons. But that might have a little bit to do with the fact that even though they only have 5 seasons, they've been around for 8 years, right? Because of all those gaps. And so it is huge breaks. It does feel older or longer than just 5 years since we saw that older Rick and Morty. But so a show I went back to, or I went and watched for the first time, was because it kept popping up on my Netflix, and it was around about 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, took a long hiatus due to some personal issues with the lead actor, and then has recently come back for a third season. That's Master of None, starring Aziz Ansari. So I'd never seen it. I tried watching one episode, wasn't in the right mood for it, and never went back to it. So I went back and finally gave it a chance, and really, really enjoyed those first 2 seasons. I think the writing is fantastic. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it's real humor, which I really, really appreciated. And then there are just some standalone episodes that don't even necessarily have the main cast in them, but there's one episode in particular where it just follows the lives of 3 random New Yorkers. And it honestly might be one of my favorite episodes of TV I've ever seen. It was just such a lovely, simple story told so well. I think, Aziz has some real potential to be, a great writer and even director. I have to say, I could not finish the 3rd season. It was not my cup of tea. It was, they obviously for time reasons had to sort of change, the focus of the show. Most of the cast that you had become familiar with didn't return for it. Mm-hmm. And again, it focuses on a whole new character. Well, not a new character, but the lead sort of changes, and it's so slow and so uneventful. And in the 2nd episode, the first 5 minutes are literally just watching somebody eat a burger in silence in their car. And I went, this is not the kind of pacing I like in my entertainment. It felt very artsy for the sake of being artsy. Yeah. And so they lost me on the 3rd season. It didn't recapture the charm from those first 2 seasons. And I really wanted to see where those characters' stories went. So I found that a bit disappointing. It almost feels like, what's the point of bringing this back under the Master of None label? It could have been something different. Just happened to be by the people who did Masters of None or Master of None. So and so you're saying Justin is going to love it then? That's what you're telling me. It might appreciate it, but it took all the beautiful directing elements from those first 2 seasons and just went a little hard on them, little heavy-handed. So yeah, I wasn't thrilled by that.
Yeah, Nina Waithe and is it Naomi Aki? I think is in it as well. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of her character in the previous, especially in the 2nd season of that show. So I was really looking forward. So that's interesting. I think the big thing, just one thing I'll really quickly shout out. Season 2 features probably the best relationship that I've ever seen on TV. Like, it's the most I've ever been invested in a relationship on a television show. And that's, like, we just talked about Friends. Like, I'm telling you, this they definitely get out there and watch Master of None season 1 and 2 and
as long as you're okay
3.
With not getting closure.
Sure. But who knows, maybe they go back at season 4, because I know wasn't there something to do with, I think there was something to do with Aziz Ansari potentially not looking the greatest with some of the fallout that he had with some controversy, right?
Yes,
and so I think that's
he's sort of cleared the air on that a little bit. Yeah. But it is funny that a small subplot in one of the last 2 episodes of the 2nd season was about the Me Too movement involving one character, and then the allegations against Aziz came out kind of shortly after that. So I'm sure none of that looked well on him. So maybe he just wanted to separate when they came back from that sort of side of the character entirely. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm still going to check it out because artsy fartsy is still something that I really enjoy, but it'll be interesting to see how that continues.
Fartsy for sure. Awesome. Well, yeah, my next Whatchya is also on Netflix. It was actually a recent release comedy special, Bo Burnham's Inside. I'm sure you guys have. Kevin, have you checked it out?
I don't do musical comedy.
Okay, right. Musicals aren't your thing, right?
No, but I don't know. A guy singing just gibberish at a keyboard isn't like my style of comedy.
It's not gibberish, Kevin.
It is. I'm in my room, do. I'm in my room, do. I don't know. That's great for about 10 seconds. I could watch an hour and a half of it.
Dude, like this, it's labeled as a comedy special. It's more of a one-man musical, which is funny, dark, intimate, very random, very self-aware. It captures the comedic brilliance of, I guess, a millennial going through, I guess, an existential crisis. And what's ironic about the whole situation, too, is that Bo Burnham took a hiatus from actually doing comedy because he was having his own anxiety. So this is, it's kind of ironic, this situation. He agreed to do a special, and then the pandemic hit, and then he was kind of forced back into his anxiety. It's very interesting. The brilliance really comes down, though, in the relatability of the series, the isolation, and how intense COVID life is on everyone's mental health. I can see this piece potentially helping people feel less alone just by connecting and watching this and listening to some of the songs. It would provide a sense of connectivity between, the viewer and Bo Burnham. And I think that's why it's really having a resonating effect on so many people.
We're doing this podcast right now, and I do my thing on Twitch. And there's a song that he does where there's two specific songs that he does. One of them where he like acts as someone on Twitch and just completely is just being a complete oh, look at my thoughts are so important, and I'm such a big deal, and I'm like, that's literally me on Twitch. and then there's another one where he does a reaction video, and then it goes further in and he starts reacting to himself, reacting to himself, and it's. Yeah, dude, it's some of the comedy. Again, Kevin, if you were stoked to watch this Rick and Morty premiere, a lot of this comedy is going to feel very much similar to you. And I wouldn't so much pose it to you as a musical as much as I would pose it as a comedy special. Yeah, because it is very funny. It's very relatable, and it also is going to make you feel uncomfortable in some of the songs that he sings. There's one with a sock puppet that I'm not going to give away, but just oh my gosh, that one is mind blowing.
I saw the trailer on Netflix, and it's about a minute and a half, and he's singing a song, and it's a catchy enough song, and he does some cool stuff for one guy alone in a room with a flashlight and a disco ball, and it's impressive, sure, but I think I was like, I've seen enough. I have seen all I need to see from that, I think.
I think the fact, though, that the whole special takes place in one room seems almost like a metaphor for his creative headspace. I think that was a personal decision to really just isolate himself literally in that room. I love how it becomes more chaotic as the special goes on. There's just, it symbolizes this sort of erratic and chaotic creative process that he's having, with cables spread out, cameras and lights everywhere. It's just all over the place. The music's outstanding. He takes upbeat synth style beats and merges them with otherwise depressing, relatable, and sometimes very truthful lyrics, very, very truthful. To the point when I was doing something on my phone, he was singing about what I was doing on my phone, right? You know what I mean? It's just, it was very meta. If you haven't checked it out, Kev, I encourage you to do so. It's awesome. I think Sarah would probably love it. I think she'd appreciate the comedy out of it. I think it's arguably the best piece of content to come out of the pandemic. Hands down. 5 out of 5 white woman Instagram accounts out of 5.
That's the one you got to listen to. I was just going to say, listen to white women's Instagram. Dude, so fantastic. I wholeheartedly agree with that review, Justin. Another Netflix. We got a lot of Netflix stuff. You know, when we're stuck in our houses and we got to watch stuff.
You got Steven Spielberg flip flopping on Netflix. You know, like
right?
Clearly
we might as well get on board too. Love, Death, and Robots season 2 came out since the last time we all got to sit down and chat. And so I actually originally had my note from when I only watched up to episode 3, but then I've completely seen the entire season. Overall, the season is not as strong as season 1, but it really does start to show just how incredible like animation has gotten to the point where like it might as well just be real actors, or maybe we'll not have real actors at some point. There's an episode with Michael B. Jordan and a robot, and it just is phenomenal, and there's no dialogue throughout the entire episode, but it's still just as gripping. And there's an episode 3. Actually, Kevin, it stars Nolan North, who you know as Nathan Drake, and he actually plays an officer, and the story is super original. He's an officer who's responsible for protecting his people's way of life by controlling the population through the extermination of any children born within the underworld below him. So, like, super sci-fi, super, very scary, and a pretty violent look at this very imaginative world. But I'm telling you guys, if you've not checked out both seasons, you have to check them out on Netflix. They're a trip, and watch them on the best TV that you have, the best quality TV. Get an OLED if you don't already have one, and watch Love, Death, and Robots on it, because it's so freaking good. Have you guys seen any of Love, Death, and Robots?
I've seen the trailer, and I'm actually very interested, especially just because I've been, through doing the Watch Club for the Bad Batch and just re-falling in love with a lot of animated sort of projects. So I think it's definitely something that I'm going to check out sooner than later.
Yeah, and it's anthology.
Yeah.
It's anthology.
It seems like Black Mirror in an animated sort of capacity, right? Like or the Animatrix, I guess, is another very.
You would kind of
relatable.
Combine both of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. Very cool.
Cool.
Sweet. Kevin, how about yourself?
All right, my final selection for today's Whatchya is a show that just had part 2 premiere on Netflix. It's called Lupin, starring Omar Sy as a mysterious man of many talents and jobs who's out to seek revenge for his father, who was wrongfully committed of a crime he didn't commit. And he bases his life, and the show is based on the stories of Arsène Lupin, who was a gentleman thief created in 1905. They were French stories, and Sarah actually read, sort of graphic novels inspired by these original novels when she was doing her French immersion schooling growing up. And so cool. As soon as she saw that there was a show based on this character who she liked very much, it was a must watch. I don't know how we missed it originally, and then tuned in just in time for part 2 to come out. So we've been getting lucky with shows like that where we haven't had to wait as long for successive seasons to come out, just because we're sort of stumbling upon them later. But I'm telling you, this is one of the best shows that I've seen Netflix do, just in terms of the quality. It's got this cinematic, almost Ocean's 11 sort of vibe. It's very hip. It's very cool. It's very, he's very much like a French Danny Ocean. It's a really cool show with a cool French soundtrack. Lots of mystery, lots of whodunit aspects to it. Really compelling bad guy. We call him the fat French Russell Crowe, because the gentleman looks a lot like an older Russell Crowe.
Okay.
We're really enjoying it. And the thing I like about it the most, maybe not everyone's cup of tea, is the subtitles.
Okay.
And so I'm forced to, put the phone down and just fully immerse in it, which I don't always do, especially with lighter stuff. As long as I can hear what's going on, I can sort of maybe tune out and check the score of the ball game or something. But with this one, I'd be completely, whereas Sarah, could be in another room and understand what they're all saying, with her French background. But for me,
awesome.
I'm very immersed in it, and that's always nice. I don't do that as often with TV shows as I probably should. So this one got me gripped. But I would recommend that to anybody who's looking for fun and intrigue and espionage. It's really cool.
Sweet. And Kevin, how long would you say it took you before the subtitles started to melt away. Because, oftentimes with subbed, content, it for me, sometimes it takes me too long, and that kind of pushes me away from a show.
Yeah, I can totally understand and appreciate that. For whatever reason, it's never bothered me that much.
Yeah.
But honestly, just because of how cool and hip, especially the first episode, the story they tell there to sort of set up the character is so fun and intriguing and interesting. You're more focused on what's going on, that the dialogue, you won't even be focused so much on the dialogue, that I think you'll instantly immerse yourself into it just because of how cool everything that's happening on the screen is. The first episode itself is like you take the plot of an Ocean's 11 movie and condense it into just one episode of a 5 or 6 part TV series. It's really, really cool in that regard.
Very cool. Awesome. Sweet. Okay. Justin, your next Whatchya, my friend.
Okay, my last top 5 out of 5. This is one that you guys have both been telling me on different occasions that I need to check out, and I finally got around to doing so. So I started and finished in less than half a day. Probably just over half a day. My apologies, not less than. Is Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Nice. About time.
Yeah.
We finally roped him in.
No, you guys are absolutely right. Ted Lasso is a feel-good story. What's amazing for me was how they situated the kind-hearted Ted with a cast of people who didn't believe in themselves, didn't believe in him, didn't have much ambitions at all, and they all wanted Ted to fail. They all in some way wanted to see Ted fail. Yet he charmed everyone and taught each person a valuable lesson beyond just, him coaching these players. And in the end, everyone sees that Ted is a good guy with great intentions, and because of his belief, everyone believes. And I think that was like such a huge takeaway for me of how much of a feel-good this was. Jason Sudeikis deserved that globe.
It's fantastic.
Deserved it 100%.
Yeah.
And you guys are right. Like the cast really does, like, I loved Rebecca. I loved seeing her sort of her personal growth and her kind of overcome this sort of, being in the spotlight and how she did so. Coach Beard was awesome.
Coach Beard is the best.
Yeah, and
Coach
he's a
Beard is
writer,
great.
and he's one of the writers, which I think is just, it's so good. Like him and Zedeckis are both are very connected with their characters, and I think that extends in from their writing. The relationship triangle between Jamie, Keely, and Roy, and Juno Temple. I love seeing her in this, and seeing her and Rebecca. Seeing Keely and Rebecca kind of have a friendship through this process.
Odd friendship.
Yeah, you're just following all these little stories, and I think the highlight is Nathan. Right? Like Nathan for me, Nick, played by Nick Mohammed. So good. Outstanding moments on the show. 2 shout outs for him in this show. When he had to list the problems with the team and he had to be brutally honest.
He's like burning them.
And how he earned everyone's respect in that. And then when they promoted him and I honestly felt so happy for the guy. It was so great. Goes without saying, I love this show. It literally embodies what it means to be a feel-good show, even though it's surrounded by some otherwise traditional English humor, which isn't afraid of a few fucks here and there. I give this show 5 out of 5 wankas.
Nice. All right. Very cool. I don't know if I want to watch 5 out of 5 wankas, but no, man. I think the biggest thing that I love about the Ted character, Justin, is he's not from a perfect situation.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's living through a situation
of his
that
own.
I won't spoil here, but of his own, and he's going through his own dramas, and it's just Jason Sudeikis is just unreal, and it's such a nice surprise to see him in that role.
I think what it goes to show is that, like you said, Nate, is that a character that has such positivity or has such a symbol of positivity in the show, he's going through his own problems. So how for him to be so positive and to stay optimistic while he's also dealing with his own sort of personal drama, as you said, I think that kind of just highlights how real of a character. He's not just this sort of happy-go-lucky. He has his own tensions in his life. So this show is fantastic, and I cannot wait for season 2. It's like
very
I'm
cool.
stoked
And
to
you
see
don't
it.
have to wait nearly as long as the rest of us have.
No,
So
I
good
know.
on you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very stoked. I can't wait. I know my parents are just like, they're freaking out. They can't wait. They're so excited. And it's the first time that I've ever watched a show that says some of those words that you mentioned earlier, Justin, and been able to watch it with my parents, and we're totally cool about it. So my final Whatchya, I did forget 2 honorable mentions, but I'm going to leave them for a future Whatchya. So don't worry, I'll talk about Ratchet and Clank and Sweet Tooth at another time. But I did want to talk about my final Whatchya, which is Mythic Quest. Guys, listen, Kevin, I don't know what I have to do. I don't know what I have to do to get you on board for Mythic Quest, but I think I'm going to just try really hard here, okay? I remember I'd mentioned that there was a character on the show named CW, and I had mentioned how I thought he was very not likable at all. He was very fantastical and he just kind of brought me out of the show. And I'd mentioned how they were probably going to do an episode where they were going to get me to really like his character, and damn it, they got me. They recently did a flashback episode, and just like the flashback episode in season 1, it really kind of gives the main plot a chance to breathe. But I am telling you right now, if I'm not in love with CW, the younger version of him, played by Big Head from Silicon Valley, Josh Brenner, who does such a wonderful job at just getting you on board with that character and getting you to understand where he's coming from. And the writing on the show is just phenomenal. I think I'm loving it more with every episode. And the recent one, the latest episode that's come out is really emotional. And I was surprised at how emotional I was getting, even though I'd only been with these characters for less than 2 seasons. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's not The Office. It's not Silicon Valley. It's not trying to be those. And that's okay.
I thought you were going to say it's not very good.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I know.
I'm saying if you're going into the show expecting a comedy, try changing your mindset. Try changing your mindset to something a little more dramatic, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised if you stick with it. I really, really, really do. And if you can do that, I will watch any wrestling documentary you want me to, and I will absolutely. We'll make that trade, and we can come back and talk about that at a later time. You down? You gonna? Can we? Come on.
We'll see. It's a tantalizing offer.
We'll be in talks. Well, that is a wrap. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, because we are Geekcentric and you can be too, which means you can also check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Geekcentric. Follow us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, and follow us on Instagram at We Are Geekcentric. Speaking of the YouTube, we are, a little ways away yet from October, but we do have Fan Expo coming up. I did manage to get some tickets. We're going to try and see if I can pull Justin and Kevin by their ears to at least attend for one day. And so we're hoping to have maybe some content available for all of you wonderful people at that time. But listen, we also have more than the standard episodes of the Geekcentric Podcast. We also have our latest review out now, as I mentioned, for Luca and Loki. Both are spoiler-free and spoiler-filled. And we also have our Watch Club series, 2 of them right now, for Loki and Star Wars The Bad Batch, where we break down and go through everything, every single moment, kind of like a book club, but way better. So look forward to those episodes releasing weekly with even more on the way. And lastly, if you want to join me live on stream, you can catch me at twitch.tv/NatePlaysGames, where I've been opening up the latest Pokemon TCG set, Chilling Reign. I've been doing giveaways. There's this really great streamer game called Marbles, which is just a really fun, fantastic way where everyone in the chat gets a marble, and it goes down this sort of Rube Goldberg machine. And so you can win some vintage Pokemon cards right from my collection if you want to join in. So that's been a lot of fun. And you might also catch me playing one of my additional watches that I mentioned at the end there, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which is just, it's Kevin, I'm playing a Pixar movie, dude. It's a Pixar movie in front of me that I control. It literally is the most gorgeous thing that I've ever played. So come hang out, come on over, and I'm loving the little community that's kind of growing from that channel. So we'd love to have you a part of that community, have you over there. Justin, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me for today's Whatchya-filled episode. And as we say, love ya.
For just a little while longer, stay home safe, guys.
Peace.